Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to Counselor's Couch 101. I'm Jim Stump. Thank you for your comments and your suggestions. They've really been helpful, and I appreciate them all. Um, Sometimes people ask me, people I meet in person out and about, they ask me if counseling really works, and they think that they should be able to do it themselves. And I say, yes, it does work. Absolutely. I could tell you stories about that. But if you want to know how to do it yourself, um, it can be done. Problem is, most people don't stay focused on it. They don't really do the work that's required to get it done on their own. It's sort of like having a gym membership. The thing that makes people go to the gym is the fact that they're paying for it, right? Because they're paying for it, they want to get something out of it. That keeps them going. As far as working on your own issues, what's going to keep you focused and on the path and getting the work done? That's the issue there. But other than that, we'll come back to that another time. Right now, I'm thinking about how can you do it? Well, first of all, we have to figure out what our goal is. A lot of people come to counseling and they have some sort of I want to say it's a little goal. And I don't mean it's insignificant. I mean it's a goal that can be addressed pretty quickly. And it doesn't require any kind of a deep work. It's not about some sort of trauma or anything like that. And those things can be taken care of pretty quickly. We just sort of look at them, examine the situation from different perspectives, and make a decision and move forward. Oftentimes, that's what happens, right? Now, if you want to do that for yourself, it's pretty simple. It's the same way as we used to get a sheet of paper and we write pro and con on either side and draw a line down the middle and then start listing the items, right? What's good about it, what's bad about it. And then you stop and you think quietly as to all the items on the list and what can be done. Think outside the box as to how to accomplish whatever it is you want to do. That should be pretty simple. And I think most of us should already be aware of that kind of a technique, probably already use it. But let's say it's something deeper. First of all, we have to identify what it is we're doing. Man came in the other day, well, a couple of weeks ago actually, and he was saying he really, really loved his wife, but he's having a problem in the relationship. And he wanted to figure out where it was coming from. He wanted to solve it because he wanted to love his wife and he wanted to keep going forward with the life that he is creating for himself and his family. So we started thinking about it. We looked at the symptoms. What was going on that he wasn't satisfied with? What was he doing that he wanted to change? And then I asked him to sit very, very quietly. I said, just sit quietly and think about that behavior and let me know what feeling comes up, right? Identify the feeling that is driving the behavior, right? Now that can be a difficult one because what happens is the human mind automatically starts to censor itself. So we start to say something about what we just asked ourselves, and the mind jumps in and says, no, no, that can't be it. It can't be that simple, or it can't be that hard, or it can't be that convoluted. And we start censoring it, and it doesn't work. It kills it off before it happens. So I say, don't censor anything. Just sit quietly. Think about the thing you want to change, and let me know what feeling comes up behind it. Now, if we can identify the feeling, then I say sit with the feeling and where does that take you? What does it remind you of, right? Where do you go when you look back on your experiences in life, when you think that feeling and you think that circumstance? Where do you end up, right? And if it's successful, someone will go back to an incident earlier in their lives, earlier in time, and they'll hook up what they're feeling now with whatever happened back then. Chances are excellent the first stop is not the last stop, or the first stop actually isn't the first stop. Hang on. So let's say this gentleman has a relationship issue going on. Well, he goes back to the first thing that comes up to mind. He thinks of something that happened, let's say 5 years ago. And I say, okay, does this feeling connect to anything else prior to that? And he'll go back and he'll find something. He'll say, yeah, I kind of remember things from high school that went on like this. And say, we're moving backwards. You see how this goes? Everything has a root to it, right? It seems like it's like a tree. It starts off with a simple little root, and a shoot, and then it grows into something big. And as it gets bigger, it takes on more to itself. It grows branches and leaves and gets taller and fatter and stronger, and etc. It takes on a life like that. Human emotions are sort of in the same way. We sort of gather unto them the things that relate to that feeling. So we're looking back for the prime mover, right? The Big Bang Theory, what started it all? What started these emotions in the person? We try to go back to that. In the case of the gentleman I've been working with the last few weeks, he went all the way back to when he was 5 years old and his parents got divorced, right? Now, you can imagine, okay, that could be the root of all sorts of negative feelings and thoughts and issues that happen in a person's life, especially about relationships, right? Oftentimes, people come away from an experience like that with the belief system deep in their subconscious that relationships don't work or that every relationship ends. Now, if you're living life with that sort of a basic idea, it's going to affect everything you do. It'll affect the people you choose to be in relationship with. It'll affect your job. It'll affect your coworkers, the way you feel about them, about your bosses and neighbors. Any sort of a group or human activity that you have, it will affect it. All relationships end, that nothing ever lasts, right? If you're going through life with that idea. What happens is if we can tap into the root cause of whatever the emotion is now that you want to change, whatever the behavior is now that you want to change, if we can tap into the root cause, we can let go of the emotional charge that is holding it in place, that is holding that behavior in place and causing you to do it again and again when you don't like the results that you get when you do the behavior, right? In this case, a gentleman starts remembering what it felt like to be abandoned, right? He had older half-siblings, and later on he would have younger half-siblings, but he had no full siblings whatsoever. So he always felt alone in life. And it sort of started that the kernel of the thing started when he was 5 and his parents divorced. And it went on from there. And as he went through life, as he started going to school and into high school and etc., he started collecting examples of relationships don't work, right? He's sort of collecting them because that was his belief system. So he started to find them in his life and he would stack them in with that basic idea, relationships don't work, all relationships end, that sort of negativity. And he collected a whole list of things. Not that he gave it to me, but he carried them around in his mind and in his emotional landscape. He carried around this idea that relationships don't work, and he found examples of it as he went along through life. He wasn't looking for examples of relationships that do work, right? I'm not faulting the man. He's a real good guy. He came to counseling because he wanted to be a better husband to his wife. I got to respect that. It's a hard task to do, to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm messing up. My wife deserves better, right? He came, and his wife knows everything. The fact that he came to counseling for that reason, of course, she's supportive of it, and she's helping him along the way every step, right? And that helps him do this work. And of course, as you might guess, as he starts to uncover and start to kick the rocks of his own experience and things that went on in the way he behaves, and then tell his wife about it, they would converse about it. It started to trigger things in her, and she started to look at her behavior as well. Now, these two people, I am really, really happy for them both. They're coming together. They're working on their previous issues together, and they're forming a strong bond over all of this. I'm really proud of them, and I'm really happy for them. I don't know yet where it's going to work out. I think it's going to work out just fine because they both want it. He says to me, she's my best friend. She always has been for a lot of years. And apparently she feels somewhat similar to that. So I really have high hopes for the success of this relationship and the work they're doing. But back to doing it yourself, if you can sit with it and follow that sort of a process, sit down and think to yourself, okay, what am I doing that I don't like? I just got mad at something. I don't know what. I've told you before on these little posts that I used to scream at the television set during the nightly news. Well, I stopped doing that. It was hazardous to my health, so I stopped watching the news. Doesn't mean I'm not informed, just means I don't watch that particular type of a news show. But the thing is, if I'm shouting at the TV set, I've got to stop and think, okay, what triggered me? What am I reacting to? What is setting me off? What is causing this negative behavior, this negative reaction that I'm having because I'm upset about something, and I'm saying it vocally to a room with nobody in it except for a TV set and a newscaster, right? What's causing that? All right. If I can sit with that quietly and say, okay, this is what upset me, right? Follow the process. What is it that upset you? What was your behavior in reaction to that which upset you? And then sit quietly and identify the emotion that is driving that behavior. Now, if I can find and identify the emotion that is driving that behavior and sit with that, and if I can follow it back as far as I can, which hopefully takes you back to earlier in life because most things start early on. If I can go back to that and connect all the dots, then I'm on to something. Once I find that root cause, that prime mover, and then I can identify it and bring it out into the sunshine, oftentimes the emotional charge will release all on its own, right? All we have to do is acknowledge it. People say, yeah, that's what happened. And they start to let go of it. And I got to tell you, folks, yes, there will be tears. This gentleman told me, he said he's doing this process and he's doing it without me. We discussed it just the way I'm describing it to you here. And he went off and he worked on it every day, spending time on this thing. Not hours, but time. And he says he's been crying all week, right? He says start to remember the feeling of being not wanted, not being good enough, of feeling abandoned. He had no one in the world, no full siblings, right? Parents weren't there, right? Father's gone, mother's too busy, he wasn't getting any attention. He's feeling the pain of all of that and he's crying it out now. And that's the way it gets released, right? Usually to do deep work, it requires tears. It requires feeling the negative feelings and letting them go. But we have to identify them and we have to be honest. That's where oftentimes a counselor can help somebody. I'm not selling services. I'm just telling you how it works. If you want to do this on your own, you certainly can. No one's stopping you. If you need some pointers along the way, send me an email. counselorscouch101@mail.com. Send me your questions about it, and I'll be happy to give you what I know as to how to do this on your own. There are a lot of great counselors out there. I've said it before. I'm nobody special. I'm just a worker in the trenches. And I don't even know why I'm here. Someone asked me to step up and help out with some issues. So, of course, I was willing to do that. Um, we all want to be caregivers, don't we? Well, I think all good-hearted people want to help other people in the world. So anyway, the idea is if you want to do this work on your own and you need suggestions, send me an email. I'll do what I can to help you and point you down the way. In the meantime, the process is to sit quietly, look at the behavior you don't like, identify the emotion that is driving the behavior, follow that emotion back as far as you can in your experience, identify it, and release the negative emotional charge if there is one. Release that negative emotional charge, let it out of you, and then watch your life improve. So, there you go. Didn't cost you anything, right? That's what Kevin keeps saying. He'll give you $200 advice for free. I don't know if it's worth $200, but it certainly is free. I wish you all well. We're headed into the holiday season, and I want you all to enjoy it. I want you all to enjoy each other, your family, your friends, and all your activities. We need to recharge during this time because there's yet another new year coming, and we're all going to have to face new challenges and situations that we're not even aware of yet. So, as we go along, let's do it together. You have questions, send me an email or make a comment down below, and I'll do my best to respond to them. And until then, thanks for dropping by. I look forward to talking with you next time. Be well.